Good morning. Welcome to episode 25 of In and Out of Character, a Roleplayers podcast. Thank you so much for joining me here this morning. Today I'm talking to Miss Laura from $2 Creature Feature. Last episode you guys got to listen to me talk to Mr. Ray, and it was such a thrill to talk to Mr. Ray, and I get to talk to Miss Laura today, and it is just such a thrill to talk to Laura as well. I might go on a little bit here and there, but you know me at this point. I do tend to ramble, and I do tend to gush when I get to people I think are really, really, really cool, or just about in roleplay in general, or about my son, or any of that stuff. Before we get into the conversation today, I would like you guys to know I am so sorry for missing the last 2 episodes. I didn't put out one last week because it was Thanksgiving, and the one before that I was on vacation, and I thought it went up, but it didn't. So you got it today. Hooray! Which is fine. Another thing that I would like to ask all of you, if you don't mind, going up into the rating system, wherever you're listening to this, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever, and just hitting that little star button and giving it 5 stars and maybe commenting on it and, telling me how much of a wonderful job I'm doing. That would be great. Not only for my self-esteem, but because the algorithm loves 5 stars and wants people to listen to things that are 5 stars. And I would really, really appreciate it if you did that. I think it would help us reach a lot more listeners. And if I can reach more listeners, I can reach more role players. And if I can reach more role players, I can have more role players on the podcast. And while, yes, I already have people lined up until February of next year, I really want to get to the point where I can do like 2 episodes of these a week. That would be so cool. Where I could do 2 episodes a week, Monday and Thursday. That is partly the dream. That's a lot of the dream, but there's so many other things that I want to do for the role-playing community. But anyways, if you don't mind, go leave a review and tell me how I did. And I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Anyways, let's get Laura on the phone. Yeah, it's so cool to get to talk to you. I've been so excited to get to talk to you guys. Like Nye is very he hopes that us being able to schedule together isn't going to be too much of a nightmare, and I'm just happy that he's willing to come on and talk. I'm happy that any of you are willing to come on and talk.
Well, we have been we are always happy to talk with folks, and it is flattering to be asked, and we really enjoy making connections with new folks. So
Oh,
I appreciate the invitation.
yeah, and it's so nice to get to kind of talk about this hobby of ours, this weird hobby that we get to do, basically playing pretend with other people who also agree to play pretend with us.
Yes, it's a terrific hobby, um, and yeah, it's good to have a chance to be extremely silly once in a
Hmm.
while and have some catharsis once in a while, and sometimes both in the same session.
Hmm. It's great. I love role playing. I like being around my friends. I get role playing pretty much wherever I can find it these days. I role play in MMOs and tabletops, and thanks to my last guest, I'm gonna go look for a community theater nearby and maybe just work out and help them. So
That
I love it.
Yeah, that's a great. I love that thought. Yeah, I was always kind of the person at the edge of
Hmm.
theatrical things,
Hmm.
staying off stage if I could possibly avoid it. But I always enjoyed just kind of the atmosphere and helping with sets, helping with um, occasional notes on rehearsals and things like
Hmm.
that. So it was a pretty big shock to me to make the transition to actually performing on purpose,
Hmm.
in a way that other people would hear on the podcast. Um, but I've surprised myself by how much I've ended up enjoying that.
You're fantastic on the show. I love
Thank
everything
you.
about your season 2 character. Also, I'm sorry for everyone who didn't know, this is Laura from. Well, okay, so I stopped doing introductions, right? And I started doing them in post because I wanted this to feel more like a conversation than an interview. But
Yeah.
I have to tell everyone about the wonders that is $2 creatures features. And so I started to introduce you like, oh, this is Laura from $2 creature feature. Please go watch it.
I think we can just call that a cold open.
There we go.
I think that works perfectly.
I
Um,
I have thoroughly enjoyed y'all's episodes. Everyone's performance on the show is just it's so great. I love everything about you guys. I didn't mean to be
Thank you.
gushing tonight, but here I am.
No, I appreciate it very much, and you listeners can't tell because we're on audio only right now, but I am blushing. Um, yeah, it's always really great to hear that people are enjoying it. And yeah, for folks, I mean, you'll do this more in post probably too, but we're a Monster of the Week actual play podcast, so
Hmm hmm
that is what we are and who we are, and if that's something you enjoy, you too can come listen to us.
I thoroughly enjoy it, and I hope that I can at least get you guys a few more people to come and enjoy it too. But I'm interested. Like, how did you get started in role playing in the first place? Like, what was that like?
I so yeah, as I said, I had always been somebody who was very nervous about acting of any
Hmm
kind. I had done a little bit, but my biggest my biggest role had been this is going to sound big, and then I will explain why it's not. I played Hamlet in high school,
hmm
but it was the 20-minute version of Hamlet.
hmm I didn't know
Um,
there was a 20-minute version of
there's
Hamlet.
there's a there's a delightful 20-minute version. I believe there's a what is it? It's 20-minute, 3-minute, and 30-second, something
Hmm
like that. It's all, as you can imagine, it gets more and more chaotic. Um, but I was tapped for that because I was the only one willing to memorize the soliloquies. Um, and I did a very convincingly going mad Hamlet because I couldn't help giggling on stage. Um, so that was my biggest sort of pretending ever. Yeah, I've always had a sort of tricky relationship with it. I don't even really, as an adult, like things like dressing up at Halloween and pretending to be other people. It just makes me uncomfortable.
hmm
Um, but I had always been slightly sort of Dungeons and Dragons adjacent.
hmm
I never played growing up, but I was always sort of aware of it as one of those things that if I had had a just slightly different friend group, I would have fallen headfirst into it.
hmm
And it was just by chance that I hadn't. Um, and yeah, several years, gosh, what, maybe 5 years ago now? No, it can't be that much. Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago now. Um, a friend of mine who had been a lifelong D&D player wanted to try his hand at running a game, got some friends together, and I didn't join. And then halfway through the campaign, someone else dropped out, and then another person dropped out, and they were getting a little sparse and needed somebody.
hmm
So I said, well, I can come and watch and see if this is something I think I can do. I don't know. Um, and I did, and I immediately loved it. And I joined that campaign, and then COVID happened.
Oh man!
Um,
Oh no!
yes, and we have that group has kept playing. We still play nearly. Sorry. We still play nearly weekly to this day, but over Discord now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I started watching lots of YouTube videos first to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons better. And then I discovered the world of actual plays. Um, and uh, and fell particularly hard into several campaigns run by a network that was at that time called Q Times. It's now called Alt Haven.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and became just a devoted follower of those, and got to know a couple of the folks who were also fans. And it turns out one of them was Mr. Ray, who GMs $2 Creature Feature.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, Ray and Morgan, who's in our first season, reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're putting a Monster of the Week podcast together. Do you want to be on it?" I guess I had also helped Ray play test one of their new games in the interim, so it wasn't quite as out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, and I initially said, "I don't think that's for me, actually. Thanks." um the idea of committing to that was scary, and the idea
Right.
of performing for people was scary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I thought about it, and I got a really good pep talk from a friend,
Mm-hmm.
and
Those are always
I
great.
yep, yeah, and I eventually said, okay, I can try it. If you really think I could do this, I can try it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the pilot of $2 Creature Feature was the first time I had ever played Monster of the Week. Um, and if you listen to that pilot, you can tell. Um, it's not much of a spoiler to say that my character very nearly died, and more than one other character very nearly died in that pilot.
Mm-hmm.
But we got it figured out. And yeah, since then I obviously the podcast is still running. It's been, gosh, we're coming up on 3 years now. And I've just completely fallen for it. I take every opportunity I can now to do role playing games and explore new systems and build more characters,
Mm-hmm.
and return to some beloved characters from time to time. And I feel very lucky to have trod that extremely accidental path.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious. What was your turning point about the? Because you originally said no, not for you. This is for the birds, and then you changed your mind and came back. What was the turning point, or the turning point reason, if you don't mind me asking?
Um, I think I knew that it was something that I was pretty sure that it was something that I would have fun with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wasn't sure if it was something that I could do and that other people would want to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but both Ray and Morgan, who were starting with me, and then Nye eventually too. I didn't know Nye yet at that point. Um, were very encouraging. And said, no, we heard what you did in the playtest, and it was good, and it was funny, and it was creative, and we want you for this. Um, and yeah, and the friends I talked to were similarly encouraging, though I will say from a place of basing it on less, not having actually heard me do role play.
Yeah.
uh, but still very encouraging. So I just needed I just kind of needed that confidence push. And then I guess also the push of like learning what even goes into recording a podcast.
Hmm.
Um, because, in the early stages, the idea of buying a buying a nice mic, learning how to use Audacity, all that kind of stuff
Hmm.
was, just the logistics of it were intimidating at first as well.
Oh yeah. Now that you've done a few episodes, you got a checklist in your head. You just go through it real quick before you start recording.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes there are still technical
Hmm.
foibles and glitches.
Hmm.
We've certainly had our fair share, but even those aren't a disaster.
Right. Yeah.
You
No,
can
no,
usually
they're fine.
recover.
Yeah. Every single time I've heard one of y'all's podcasts, I'm like, oh, it's just a little thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say for anybody new who wants to listen, if you start with season 2, there's gonna be better production quality. Season the beginning of season 1 is pretty rough. We love that story, but the beginning is pretty rough. So
Hmm.
I
have not.
apologize to your ears.
Oh, you're fine. I have not I haven't listened to all of season one. I have listened to a good chunk of season one, but I started listening to you guys right at the very beginning of season two, and I have
Mm.
been listening ever since. And
I
right before season two finished, the finale came out. That's when I was like, I'm just gonna take my shot and ask him to come on.
I'm glad you
I'm just
did.
gonna ask him. Yeah, I'm so happy I did. You guys just y'all tell just such a creative story with those characters, and I love it.
Well, we'll have just a tiny bit more
Hmm.
coming for fans. We're taking a break now to release some one shots that we've done. And then we have an epilogue coming out sometime, I think sometime in the next month or so.
Oh,
So what you get one more little experience with Tammy Joe, Zarek and Zelda. Bleh, Tammy Joe, Eric and Zelda.
fantastic! I'm very happy to see the characters. I'm sad, but I'm happy to see the
Yeah.
characters retiring and new characters coming on. But I mean, I'm just happy to listen to you guys. Y'all social commentary is very, very wonderful.
Good. I like to think we attract folks who will have similar sentiments usually.
Yeah. So you were talking earlier about like trying new systems and new games. What have those been lately?
Yeah. So the just very recently, I've played two games that were new to me. So we just for our Halloween special, which will be coming out, well, probably coming out in 2 weeks. Um, we recorded a game of Slasher Flick, that was guest GM'd um by Eric from the Queer Experience, who's the
Mhm.
host of that channel. Um, and that was it's a um well, as the name suggests, it's a TTRPG that sort of calls on the tropes of 80s and 90s teen
Mhm.
slasher movies. And it's all about playing into the archetypes and often sort of very goofy, sometimes borderline offensive stereotypes that show up in those movies. Um, and you were encouraged to play multiple characters, because it's quite likely that a number of the characters will die and you end up
Oh,
with
that's
the sort
amazing.
of final girl situation. Yeah.
Oh, I
Um,
love this so much. I'm
yeah,
a big
it's
slasher fan.
it's extremely fun. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. We're recording this in mid-October, so that'll be out end of October. And there actually is already an episode of that that was actually the first proper game played on the Queer Experience channel. that Eric led, and Mr. Ray is a player in that. So if you can't wait to hear ours, go and listen to the Queer Experiences version. But that was super fun. I am not actually a big horror fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a horror fan, but not a horror movie fan.
You fan, yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm a big chicken when it comes to actually watching them, but I
Mm-hmm.
like talking about them and hearing about them and thinking about them. So this was perfect. Um, yeah, and then just a couple days ago, Ray had a scheduling conflict, so just Megan and Nye and I were left unsupervised,
Oh no.
and had to find a way to entertain ourselves, and we did. We just recorded a game of it's a one-page TTRPG called the Bid Around the Bush, which
The
is
a bit around the bush.
Bid Around the Bush. Yes,
Uh-huh.
it's it is made by Ian Malden, who's the GM of Shrimp and Crits, which is a fellow Monster of the Week podcast, which folks should definitely also check out. But it is a sort of reenactment slash parody of reality shows like Storage Wars, where you are playing as characters slash contestants
Oh my God.
on a reality show, and you're bidding on unopened storage units.
I love this so much. I'm looking at
It
it right
is,
now.
yeah, it is supremely silly, and really rewards going totally over the top. Um, and so that was a blast. I'm not sure yet if that's going to be out on our Patreon or our main feed. I think probably Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely encourage folks to check that out. Ian has put out a handful of really fun games. And that's an easy one to get into.
Well, have you? So, are there any other forms of like role playing you have done? Because I know that you've been sort of in theater, and I'm sorry, I I put acting and I put acting underneath the role play umbrella.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when I talk about that, well, when I mention acting, that's what I'm referring to. It's just the general idea of role playing. But I know that you've done a little bit of you dabbled a little bit in the theater, and then you got into this. But has there been any other forms of role playing that you like to do?
I honestly not really. No. Um Again, I never done, LARPing or, the sort of the Renaissance fair scene or any of that. Again, that those are all things that are kind of right on the edge of I easily could have, and
Hmm.
it just never
If
really worked out.
if I tell
Yeah.
you to go to the Ren Fair, will you go to the Ren Fair? Because the Ren Fair is a lot of fun. And,
I hear
and that
they're
will
a
be
lot of fun. I hear they're a lot.
that'll be your opportunity to go. There's some because some random guy on the internet told you to go.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
Yeah, it's I one of these days I will make it to one. I gotta say I'm not a big crowds and festivals
Kind of,
person.
yeah. No, I get you.
So, um but I do think if I'm in the right mood, a Ren Fair would be a lot of fun.
It sounds,
Um
I'm just thinking about it, and it sounds a lot of fun. Never mind. I'm sorry.
No, I completely agree. I'll make it to one of these days. Uh, but yeah, no, really, TTRPGs have been the main thing for me. And entirely, I mean, but both in person and remote. But I really haven't even done like I haven't done video game RPGs at all. That's sort of it's it's just less interesting to me. It feels like it's sort of
Hmm.
missing a lot of the human element that I
Yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah.
Um,
I enjoy the narrative drive between friends
yeah,
a lot more than
yeah,
I do just because if it's a choice to play a video game or to sit down with my friends and do a tabletop, I'd much rather do the tabletop.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And like I really enjoy actually the mechanics of TTRPGs. Even though a lot of the games I actually play are sort of more or considered rules light, but I really enjoy the mechanical aspects of them.
Hmm.
But that's largely because I like finding ways to creatively exploit those mechanics, which
Hmm.
works great in a TTRPG and does not work great in a video game usually. Um, so yeah, I like again, yeah, just like the free flowing human part.
I don't blame you. Pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
I would like to. I would like to play a lot more tabletops than I get the chance to. I
Yeah.
think I've ranted to Mr. Ray about this. Is I have so many tabletops that I want to play. I never have the time to play them. As I
Yeah.
have mentioned many times, everyone can put that on their bingo card. Yes, I mentioned it. I have a lot of tabletops, and I don't get to play them very often.
Yeah. Yeah. That is I have currently I have two regular games. I used to have three, and I would love to be playing more, and I also cannot allow myself to play more.
Yeah,
There are things like laundry and vacuuming that have to
to be
happen.
done.
So,
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I'm more of an MMO role player than I am a tabletop role player, and
mm,
it's very easy to get access to RP through MMOs. You just have to know where to look, and I could easily fill up my day with roleplay like that. But I have things I
yeah,
have to do as not only a father but as a human being. So I yeah, like you said, laundry. I have to do the dishes. I have to make sure everything's clean, so on and so forth. And if I sit there and role play, I'll never do them.
yep, yeah, yeah. It's astonishingly easy to get just sucked into something that then turns into hours and hours.
It really is. Have you gotten yourself your favorite pair die yet?
Oh gosh,
Or your favorite set, I should say.
yeah, I don't have a favorite, but I have specific die for different characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a beautiful set from what's it from? Die Hard Dice, I think. Um, oh, that's the wrong postcard. What's it from?
What's the one that you use for Tammy? I'm really curious.
Oh,
Hold on.
yeah.
Are they
So
are they like are they like what Zelda does to your gun and what she could have done to the car with that glowy magic thing? That now
it's
they
it's
they
uh,
glow and
it's
sparkle.
it's you're honestly right on track. So I got a while back at a where did I get these? I think I got these at a there's a comic book store in Portland, Maine, I think is where I got these. I can't remember the name, but it's wonderful. Um I got a set of six sparkly D6s in different colors.
Mm-hmm.
And as listeners may or may not know, Monster of the Week is a Powered by the Apocalypse game, and I think all the Powered by the Apocalypse games use 2d6 as the baseline roll. So for every character that I make in a Powered by the Apocalypse game, I choose a different combination of two colors.
Mm-hmm.
So Tammy's combination was green and pink.
Oh, I love it.
Both very sparkly. Yeah, Door from season one was green and black. And my season three character, which we have started recording, is uh oh no, what is it? Blue and gold, I think. We've only
Oh
done
yeah,
a couple episodes. Um yeah, and it helps me just think about each character a little bit and their colors, which I enjoy.
that's great. No, I get it. I'm the same way. I unfortunately just, like I said, I don't have that many tabletop characters anymore.
Yeah.
But I would absolutely love to be doing the same thing. Trust me, where I'd have a different pair of dice for every character. I wonder how common that is. I'd never actually asked that question.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people. I mean, just an observation anyway. A lot of folks seem to have a large collection that they then sort of switch among based on how the dice are performing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't do that. Mine are really character based. I've got
I,
that.
I'm I'm that person.
Yeah.
I'm that person who sends their dice to dice jail when they let me down one too many times, and then I give them a talking to about how I'm going to melt them down later. I should probably be nicer to the dice.
When the dice rise up, you will not be remembered kindly.
I know. Oh, they'll base everything off of critical failures and successes, and I'm gonna fail everything. Oh no. Anyways, so I want to know, where did you get the inspiration for Tammy
um,
that you can find on the
yeah.
critically acclaimed podcast $2 Creature feature on the second season? I'm
Yeah,
really
so
trying to sell it. I hope I
yeah, no,
am.
I love it. Thank you. Yeah, so Tammy Jo Marple um actually came out of this actually, now that I think about it, this is interesting. Both Tammy Jo's my season 2 character. My season 3 character, who we have not revealed publicly yet, actually came about in a very similar way. Um but yeah, so Tammy Jo came out of a character that I played um in like a just for fun one shot between seasons, and that character I think had a different name and a few other differences, um but was uh a mundane, which is one of the classes in Monster of the Week for listeners, who was a real estate agent and just had started observing some spooky things happening in some of the more remote houses that she was showing, and no one believed her about it, and it turned into a whole situation. Um, but Tammy Jo I ended up basing on that character, and also Eric Asherin, who Nye's season 2 character, if I remember right, was also based on the character he played in that game, and in that game, the Eric precursor was actually the Tammy Jo character's nephew, um, which we did not really intentionally bring that over that way. It just kind of happened, and I have
Mhm.
enjoyed the way that that ended up playing out. Um, but yeah, so I adapted her from a character that I played once and enjoyed. And I guess um I had wanted to play a character who was very different. Um, my season 1 character Dor Bolin was a teenage girl who had suffered a pretty horrible tragedy and was both very tough and very traumatized, and and not a particularly confident or social character, and also not a magical character in any way. So I wanted to play somebody who was very different from that. So Tammy Jo Marple, is this effusive, assertive, um, uh, real estate agent and marketer, who also ended, who also was very strong, but in a different way, in a magical way, rather than a shotgun based way.
Hi, me again. So, really quick, again, as always, I want to make sure that I am promoting other people's work because, while yes, I'm trying to do something myself here, the whole point of what I'm trying to do is to bring up the whole of the role-playing community all together. And so, with that said, I would like you to listen to my friend over at the RPG Goblin. I said that really weird. Here's a mid-roll for you.
Welcome to the RPG Goblin, a podcast that makes exploring TTRPGs fun and easy for you. My goal is to be the best resource for exploring and learning new TTRPGs, no matter if you're a veteran player, have only played D&D, or you're just getting into the hobby. My name is Willow, and I am the host of the RPG Goblin, and I am obsessed with TTRPGs to the point that I would talk about them so much that I drove my mom crazy, and she told me to start a podcast, so I did. On the RPG Goblin, I sit down with guests and we delve deep into TTRPGs like Pathfinder, Monster of the Week, and Wanderhome, and we do the hard work of finding the games and breaking them down for you so that all you have to do is listen to an episode and find your new favorite game. Along with exploring games, we also discuss different TTRPG topics that help you improve your own games at home. So if you want to find your new favorite game, or you just want to switch up from playing D&D, then listen to the RPG Goblin wherever you find your podcasts.
Do you ever get told that Tammy has a lot of mom energy?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, she is absolutely, she is not based on my mom, but there are aspects of her that are based on some of my mom's friends who I'm very fond of.
Oh man, I bet. I love Tammy so much. She's so much fun to listen to you describe her, to listen to you play her. I think finally of one scene that you guys had done, and it's like right after your characters had met in season 2, and there was like this what is it called? What is it called when there's a bunch of training scenes? I forget what it's called. Montages.
Oh,
It was like a montage of everyone getting ready, and everyone's like pulling out their weapons, and then it just goes over to Tammy, and Tammy is just putting on her makeup.
Her armor.
Yeah, her armor. Yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes that y'all guys have done.
I am glad. I'm glad. Yeah, and the other thing that's been I don't think of Tammy and I as having all that much in common usually, apart from we are both aunts. But one of the things I did enjoy was so I am, in my day job, I'm a communications and marketing director. So it was fun to get to use a little bit of my day job knowledge about, all right, let's call up this reporter and use that connection to make some trouble or to smooth something over, or let's build a relationship with the mayor by offering the marketing help. And I enjoyed bringing that little bit in.
That's great. You definitely seem like you know what you're doing, for sure. And I mean that in the best way possible, I promise.
Yeah. No, I believe it. We will. I'll be interested to see how season 3 goes with that respect, because I have not. Well, we have not revealed my sorry, the neighbor's dog is
Ah, the infamous
freaking out
neighbor's
about
dog.
something.
The
Yes.
infamous neighbor's dog that you have mentioned a few times.
Yeah. They're very sweet, but they, you know, they 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 keep a good eye out to make sure there are no incursions, but what they view as a threat is a pretty broad definition. Um oh, anyway, yeah, so so we have not uh revealed my season 3 character's profession in
Mhm.
game yet. But it is a field in which I have less than zero experience. I have negative experience in this field. So we will see how that goes. It'll be a little bit of a different feel.
Oh man, I can't wait to see what it is. Who's been your favorite character that you've made for a tabletop so far?
Oh gosh. I mean, I love Tammy has been enormously fun, and I have I really have a soft spot for Adore as well. Adore might be my favorite character. But one I'll tell you one that you are not familiar with. I for let's see, this was for a live streaming D&D campaign that I and Nye and Ray were all in for a while. So I had been playing this other character, but there was a big heist setup coming, and it was a what's it called? The whole setup of this thing, it was a large group of people that sort of come in and out as they could. So we were playing like essentially this band of mercenaries. So folks could kind of come in and out at will. And our DM said, all right, this heist might end up being pretty deadly. So if you don't want to risk your regular characters and you want to build a character just especially for this heist, you can do that. So I did. And I made a character who was a halfling. Let's see, what was it? Rogue 1, trickery cleric 8 or 9, and her name was Wywocket. And absolutely one of the most fun characters I have ever played, and completely broken. I made her intentionally for a heist, and then it turned out that there were also undead to deal with. So a rogue and a cleric was perfect. But yeah, I mean, she had all the illusion magic and the whatever that lucky feature is that halflings have, and various ways to mitigate damage and all kinds of teleportation options. And it all kind of came down to there was like this MacGuffin that was like a stone that if you did something wrong it would explode the world, that kind of thing. It came down to this confrontation in a graveyard with a bunch of the characters and a bunch of undead of all various kinds. There's a ghost and some skeletons and a ghoul and some zombies and all kinds of stuff. And I don't remember the sequence. And like they got one of the powerful undead had just like snatched the MacGuffin away from one of our party. And I ended up on a roof of a mausoleum nearby, kind of using I used turn undead, and that got rid of a bunch of sort of the the lower level undead. And then I was just kind of sniping them with arrows, if I remember right, for if it was arrows or cantrips, for a bit. And then I cast Spirit Guardians, which is a fantastic spell for this situation. I just sort of somersaulted into the middle of the circle of undead. So I was they were all taking damage from the Spirit Guardian situation. And then on the next round, I Sork. I had extremely, extremely high sleight of hand. And I also, because I was a small creature, could tumble through the space of a larger creature. And I also had disengage as a bonus action. So I just somersaulted past the undead that was holding the MacGuffin, grabbed it right out of their hands, and just kept somersaulting away. And it was amazing.
I have a favorite character from a session a long time ago, and his name was Tom Bombadil, and that was his whole thing. I'm Tom Bombadil, and his whole thing was just walk up to people like he was a bard. I remember this, but he didn't play an instrument. He would just like if you had to talk to if you had to get past the guards, he was like, well, I can do that, and he just walk up and, hi fellas, I hear that you're having a hard day today, so I thought I'd just come over and have a conference, and I would just keep this bit going for as long as humanly possible until everyone else finally did the things that they could do.
Yeah.
The whole thing about this character was just to keep talking for as long as possible and hope the dungeon master doesn't ask me to roll anything.
Yes. If I role play this social encounter well enough, can I avoid rolling it?
Yeah, pretty much.
I know that feeling.
I've gotten to the point where, as much as I love combat in games like that, I just love story so much more. Just give me more of the story. I just I get that you need a roll to see like how badly and how poorly things succeed, and I'm very happy to do those. You, I know, I'm talking. You gotta be shush for a minute, okay? Thank you, sir. But I've gotten to the point where I'm much more narratively driven these days.
Yeah.
I just like a good story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I find it's it'll I will be interested to see honestly how my tastes and priorities evolve over time, because again, I've only I have only been playing TTRPGs at all for like less than 5 years.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, because you started at the beginning of the Panini. So if you had to go, you had to find it and then lose it for a quick moment.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It was fine. I mean, we actually, I think we actually transitioned, if I'm remembering right, I think we actually transitioned that game pretty quickly to doing it virtually. But it was, I don't know. I sort of lost that in-person experience at the same time as I lost all the other in-person experiences. So I can't say that it felt like the highest priority at the time. I mean, it certainly took on increased importance in my life, because it was a regular social outlet and way of engaging, at a time when those were pretty few and far between.
Yeah.
For me and most of us. Um, uh, yeah, so it didn't. I guess it didn't really feel like losing it. It sort of felt like this is shifting and also suddenly becoming extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, yeah, and then again I said as I had I guess I must have sort of just I think I had like just discovered actual plays a
Mm-hmm.
few months before that. Um, so I definitely did go through a stage of developing some pretty extreme parasocial relationships with
Mm-hmm.
um fictional characters in various actual plays. Um which
No, I get
well,
it. I totally get it. Listen, I'm currently having my own problems because my friend finally talked me into watching Good Omens, and I'm in love with
oh
pretty much every character on Good Omens right now. And if
yeah,
anything happens to any of them,
yeah. Yeah.
oh, I'll cry. Hold on. I think I went to y'all's Discord, which people can find over on $2 Creature Feature AP podcast and website. Um, but I came over to y'all's podcast, and what was the name of Tammy's nephew? It's slipping my mind.
Jackson.
Jackson. Yes,
Jackson.
I went over to y'all's Discord, and I was like, if anything happens to Jackson, I'm gonna riot. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll be so upset if Jackson dies.
Yes. Ray and I had a number of off-screen conversations about what was and wasn't okay to have happen to Jackson.
Oh, I should have put up a spoiler running there, but there it is. There's my rant.
But we haven't really said anything.
Thank goodness. I desperately need people to go listen to this podcast. Y'all guys are so good. Like, I am insanely jealous of how great and talented every single one of y'all are. And I know that if I said this to every single one of y'all are gonna deny it, but I guarantee it's true. Y'all are so hilarious and just so fun to listen to.
I am so glad you enjoy it so much, and yeah, and I just I feel tremendously lucky to get to play with that crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, Ray is a game designer, um, and has done some extremely fun games. You can find them on itch.io. And actually, if anyone out there has bought like a big like charity bundle in the last couple of years, you might already own some of Mr. Ray's games because they put lots of them into those bundles. Um, but yeah, like that's just amazing, and like getting to play his games is super fun, um and Megan. We were all, I think we were all, so Megan joined us for season 2 and is staying on. And we were all, I think, just a little bit starstruck to get Megan because we had seen her guest star on a number of shows that Aldhaven put on, which is our network as well now, our TTRPG network. So we were at least Ray and I were familiar with her work, and she always brings just like tremendous sort of like whims. Like, these characters have like a great sense of whimsy, but also an inner strength to them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Um,
I agree. I
she,
absolutely
yeah,
agree.
yeah, which yeah, I mean, she's super brought with Zelda. And and she's just like she's very professional as well, which is lovely. Um, and then Nye when we met was doing a lot of work with a network called Garblag Games, too. So Nye and Megan came in with the the most experience, certainly. Um, but he just it's become a you know, a joke that's also a truism that Nye will leave character creation up. I don't know if you all talked about this yet, but he will leave character creation up until like the last possible second,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes beyond the last possible second, and then whatever he brings is, he just like dumps just a tremendous amount of talent and emotional complexity
Mm-hmm.
into it. I mean, the number of times that in season 2 that Nye as Eric made me just cry.
Aww.
Re-
Aww.
really really bordering on excessive. And the relation in season 1, the relationship between his character Nemo and my character Dor was really special as well. So yeah, I feel incredibly lucky to get to play with them. Literally every time we play together.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That is very wonderful. Unfortunately, we're hitting our hour mark, and I don't want
Oh,
to, but
yeah.
anything over an hour scares me, scares my poor editing soul.
I am extremely sympathetic to that. Yeah.
So as much as I really want to continue this conversation, I'm gonna have to call it to an end. I'm so sorry.
No, this has been absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you again for having me on, and
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, where
yeah.
can they find you? But go ahead and plug everything.
Yeah. So folks, for right now, folks can still find me, Laura, on Twitter is the best place. It probably won't be forever. But that is, I'm General McMill there. So that's GeneralMcmill. But the easier thing is to find $2 Creature Feature, which I would recommend. We are on pretty much all the social platforms. Our name is the same, so it's the numeral 2, the word dollar, and the word creature, just all together one word. We are still currently pretty active on Twitter and learning our way around Blue Sky. And we are also on Instagram, Facebook, and Discord. And if you would like, we have a Discord server for our fans, as well as we're also on Patreon. And you can find the links to those on our in the profiles of our various social medias. And we love to talk with folks and share memes about cryptids and hear what other people are up to. So reach out.
And I can say that I am a part of their Discord channel, their Discord server, and it is a blast to be in there.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
All right, Laura. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of In and Out of Character. I really appreciate you listening. I honestly cannot tell you how much I love talking to role players, and I hope that you enjoyed the passion that I have for this as I rant and I rave and I talk to other role players. Anyways, I don't have anything else really good to say here. Please, again, if you don't mind, go leave a review. 5 stars, wonderful. If you want to support me, I have a Patreon, of course, links down below. Please go check out $2 Creature Feature. They are just amazing. They're so cool. Go listen to them, especially Season 2. Season 2 is so wonderful. And if you don't mind, go check them out, support them. Join them in their Discord, tell them I sent you, tell them I said hi, tell them that I missed them already, and I can't wait to listen to Season 3 when that comes out. Anyways, so, yeah, have yourself a wonderful morning, evening, drink some water, and stay in character, guys. Bye.